It's what it is. It is what it is. Okay, so I have that fixed. I'm pretty aware that most people will be asleep right now, having their sweet dreams. Well, maybe for those that are not night crawlers, because some night crawlers may just now be riding back home after a very groovy Saturday night. I'm not unaware of that, but again, like I said, it's gonna be a quiet, podcast, and we'll just take it from there. So I was talking about the protest that happened this week, Monday, and it was the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. And again, I watched snippets of all that, and I wasn't really happy with the outcome. It was just that I felt, and I already said that I feel that Showore, even though the intention might be right, the intention is to release Nnamdi Kanu, but I felt that he was actually doing this one to get himself back, into the news cycle, because he's been out of the news cycle for a while. I mean, for a while now, even there's normal activists that don't even find it easy, to be back in the news. It's been a slow news. The only news happening is the coalition, the political pundits, and all that. So nothing really exciting. But we saw what happened, and it was quite interesting that, as predicted, the whole thing didn't really go as I expected. Don't let me say as I expected, because I warned that it was going to be a big failure. And the reason why I said that was this: number one, this person, even though he's an IPOP member, I believe that one way or the other, there were certain grounds at which it was held. Now, you may argue that there's been two system of justice, and which is correct. But again, what I'm saying is that this whole battle, this whole situation, should have was actually been handled in a very subtle way, and that was already, I would say, bearing fruit. There's been different meetings, there's been concession made, and then people's voices have actually been heard. Then all of a sudden, Shore just came in and started saying it was going to lead a protest, and I was like, okay, fine. How do we go about it to be sure that you're not just doing this to bring your political career back? And that was the question I was asking. And it was clear as day, because the whole thing just became more like a charade. And it was until when I saw him from running from policemen, and I saw that the whole protest was not really well organized. I wasn't even sure if he had good insiders that would give him, up to date information of what the state was planning. And then it was quite, very rough, and it was at that point I knew that there was a bigger problem. It was a bigger problem, and that was it. Now, that being said, you know what else happened? The lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu was arrested, and also the brother of Nnamdi Kanu was also arrested. And I was like, how dare you? How do you lead a protest from leaving Free Nnamdi Kanu now to Free Nnamdi Kanu's brother and Free Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer? It was not well planned, and that was my thought from day one. Was my thought from day one, and I felt like you could have done more than just all, like, this old story, right? Let me see. There was one that was saying the guy ran, right? So the,
Jetas cannot stop us. Jetas cannot stop us. Jetas cannot stop us.
at this point, you could see him there. At this point, he was already leaving the team. But you were the one convening this thing. If I'm convening a protest, or if I'm saying I'm going to put my life out there to change things or to change the government, it's clear as day that I will be the person ensuring that our formation, our strategy, our tactics are well orchestrated and well defined. There was no organization here, as far as I'm concerned. No, zero organization. And this is when he started running away. And I'm like, what the hell? I've never seen, even those guys in NSAS movement were much more determined, okay? Much more determined and much more organized. Even though unfortunately it ended in a very, 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 very sad, state. But so sorry about that. Do you understand? It was well planned. This was it.
Jegas cannot stop us. Jegas cannot stop us. Jegas cannot stop us. Nnamdi Kanu now. Sit. Kanu now.
At this point, I was wondering what he was up to. I was wondering because this is where the policemen, that's one of the major, I've forgotten the name now, police rights. And it was clear. It was clear that, it was already leaving the rank and file. It was right on his own here, trying to orchestrate his escape. Look at that. Big sign of cowardice. Very big sign of cowardice.
Let's go to Beggar.
And then he said, let's go to Beggar. And again, report has it that, even after that, he went to Beggar, they saw him again running for his dear life. And this is not funny. I mean, I don't even know why I'm laughing. It just shows how, how would I put it? How emotional people are. I would say number one, how lazy he is as a politician, because right now, he's at this party for so many years. And then again, when it comes to, his strategy, is the way he conveyed things and all that, it just shows that he's also really not that competent to take on the powers that be. Now, what on the street is that he was working with the federal government, which is a lie, to take over the whole thing, so as to turn in Nnamdi Kanu's brother and Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer. But again, that's not been substantiated. So that's it.
Nnamdi Kanu now. Nnamdi Kanu now. Nnamdi Kanu now.
So again, okay. So again, that was it. That was one of the major highlights. Now I read that he actually went to the police station later that evening. And the funny thing was that was on Monday. When he went to the police station, he actually went there and came out, and he wasn't arrested, despite the fact that Nnamdi Kanu's brother and lawyers were arrested. And I'm like, why? So that actually solidified the rumor that SOWORE was working with the government in a way, just to just to form some level of protest and all that, which I cannot confirm or deny that. Now, the truth of the matter is, people started pointing out that how come this guy, and there were a lot of people on both sides. Some were like, you know what, this is not the time to protest, because they believe that, this guy, there was already different agreement, or different how will I put it, different negotiation going on behind the scene. Number one. Number two, Buhari was not the one that Tinubu was not the one that actually put him in jail, which I don't subscribe to that. You cannot come and tell me that Tinubu was not the one that put Nnamdi Kanu in jail. Okay, it's a government. The government of Nigeria put Nnamdi Kanu in jail. So that argument didn't even fly with me. But again, I understand that. I'm thinking that, the best thing that would work in here. Now, I have to also point out this, so that I don't sound like I don't understand what is happening. There is no moral basis for the Nigerian government, honestly, to put Nnamdi Kanu in jail. And before you get mad at me, just wait. Let me explain myself. This is what I mean. We've seen videos. We've seen official records. We've seen, different stuff happening where the head of terrorist band that have killed people, that have directed the killing and bombing of a lot of, villagers in the north, we've seen them sit down and negotiate with the politicians. We've seen them, even break bread. We've seen politicians in the house of terrorist leaders, okay, trying to have dinner together. So, what moral basis do the government have to keep Nnamdi Kanu in custody for all of these years and either not charge him to court or at least help him go through the normal judicial process? So there are two theories to that. And I believe that this is true. One is this, that there are certain evidences, rightly so, against Nnamdi Kanu. And again, if you come here to say, oh no, there are no evidences and all that, okay, fine. That means you're not being sincere. There are real evidences against Nnamdi Kanu. That, even if you present it in court, might actually amount to treason and all that. But this is the problem. The government don't want to play their hand because there would be no justification to actually charge him for treason where you have other people, other terrorists, like I earlier said, that have been freed, and you're talking about how to work with them and integrate them into the society. So it's a very difficult case for the government to take him to court, because I believe that if I'm the lawyer for Nnamdi Kanu, I'm going to be saying this bandit, that bandit, and all that. What's happening? So as a result of the lawyer being, arrested, and his brother also being arrested, Nnamdi Kanu had to appear in court. Again, it doesn't make sense, because there's been the side that said, you know what, why is the lawyer taking to the street? Every other person can take to the streets, but the lawyer, you should be preparing for the case. I don't know if it was planned between Nnamdi Kanu and his lawyer to go on the street and all of those, but I think it's quite interesting because then Nnamdi Kanu defended himself in court. And what he said was that, you know what, I'm going to bring people to the stand. I'm going to call people to come and take the stand and bring them in as witness. And yours truly, the names he's calling is quite interesting. Wike is among those. So that begs the question, what does he know? What does Nnamdi Kanu know? And when has he known this? And what are the implications of what he knows? Because this guy was asked, Wike was asked about, what would happen if he was actually called. And he did, he didn't answer the question very well. He didn't answer the question very well. And the question was, your name has been, released.
The case currently ongoing, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case in court. There was a protest on Monday, but he was set to open his defense yesterday. And you were listed as one of his witnesses.
Compelling witness.
Alongside a number of other notable Nigerians. So former Attorney General, some governors, former governors as well, and another minister, Dave Umahi, was listed as well. I do not know if you're aware of this and why it is that you have been listed as one of the witnesses in this case.
And if
If
you
you see Nnamdi Kanu, you ask him, why did he list me? I did not go to say I want to be a witness. You are the one saying that. So if you see him, ask him, why did you list Wike as one of your witnesses.
Have you
So
not seen it?
I'm coming. I don't listen. See, you don't become a witness by reading newspaper. Nobody has served me any process. Nobody has subpoenaed me. So because I saw wickets listed, therefore, I'm going to run helter skelter. No, you don't do that. If I am served, if I'm subpoenaed to come and give witness or to give evidence, I must obey the court. I must appear. But not on pages of newspapers. Nobody does that.
Excellency.
And so, as to why I should be listed, he who chooses me there, he should ask him the question. But if I am invited, if I'm supposed to come, go home and sleep. I will be there.
Okay, so that's not about that. So why did he name Nnamdi Kanu? I don't know. Sorry, why did he name Wiki? I don't know. I don't know why he decided to say, you know what, Wiki should be my witness and come to take the stand. And he also named other people, not just him alone. And then he said he was going to defend himself in court. Let me see what this is.
Here, my law, that the defendant has now applied for bail. Now, as I've said earlier, bail is a discretion of the court, taking into consideration all the conditions laid down in Muhammad Abacha v. State. At this stage, I am of the opinion that to make or take a stand on the bail application without first hearing and determine the issue that is glaring in the face, which is the absence of the defendant from the court since 25th of April 2017 until he was produced on the 29th of June. My lord, which was exactly what the Supreme Court did. They said that he did not jump bail. These criminals came to my house to kill me. That's what the Supreme Court said. This is in your own ruling, in your own court, my lord. So I cannot understand, my lord, why my trial will be conducted contrary to the Constitution of Nigeria that said I must have.
Wow. It's quite interesting that I actually recognize that there's a constitution in Nigeria because I've not seen him, really recognize that Nigeria, he's always said Nigeria is a fraud. And again, I don't even agree with a lot of stuff in that constitution. You see, you could say whatever you want to say, but when the whole thing comes down, okay, they're gonna tell you there's a constitution, there's a country. Now, you may not agree with a lot of things that the judiciary has done. Again, I'm just saying, whatever it is that you're doing in your own daily conduct and business, you have to understand that what happens if the chip falls, you've got to be able to stand by the Constitution. Now, Nnamdi Kanu is talking about the Constitution of Nigeria, even alluding to the fact that the Constitution actually, the Supreme Court did what was right. And now what we were saying was that the Supreme Court already said that, it's kind of clean.
Free and unfettered access to my counsel is here. This is the law of Nigeria.
This is the law of Nigeria, the zoo, right? Rightly called, right? So again, that was what happened, and it went on the 23rd, as I'm seeing right now, based on this date, and that it is what it is. It will later tell us where in the world arrogance win any case in the court of law. Should this guy go 2 days for prison? Anyways, again, it wasn't, in my own opinion, I know that they always advise against you standing for yourself just because of a lot of legality and a lot of stuff involved. But that's that about that. Now, there's been also different stories, and I don't know if I should just go through that one now, where Obasanjo was saying that Tinubu will not win in 2027. Activists blast Wiki. Before I go there, so Sowore has now been rearrested, and again, I mean, that was what he wanted. Okay, that was what it. Not even when they had Nnamdi Kanu's brother, okay, and the lawyer arrested. So what would they be doing out there? So Sowore was arrested for protesting against injustice in the country.
I'm recording me.
Put that phone
This is my younger brother. Now, what are you upset about?
Put that phone down.
So you said
Now, I'm not body shaming, okay? Let's just get that right. Everybody, even me, I'm not. It's not as if I'm that 100% fit. But again, when you are in the police force, there's a level of fitness that is required. when how would this person be able to chase a criminal? Look at the pot belly. I'm just saying. No, this is not personal.
Commissioner of Police said should arrest me.
Yes, we are not
Over what?
to bring you to the office.
By force?
Is it by force? I'm not holding you.
No, when you said that, so why you then after? So you didn't bring a letter of invitation now. That's not your business. When did you start telling people how to wear their clothes?
You are saying people should not use phone.
Let my car follow me. Is the car here? Yes.
Wait. Baba, wait first.
No, wait.
Let the...
You have to take me with my lawyer, so provide an avenue for...
Your lawyer can come and
Yes. No, wait now. Let him enter first.
Enter.
Clear the thing now.
Enter inside now, Oga.
Where's this person? Oh.
Where's your secretary?
Where is she now?
She's at the back there.
Enter, please.
Can you come? Drive down. How are you now? How far?
No, sir.
Even though you know what you are doing is bad, so
I'm not doing anything bad.
no problem. Well, we had to stand for you when they oppressed you. So if you are standing for oppression, you know the problem.
Just follow us. Anybody that is following us. Please, sir, wait.
My car is coming. You said it's an invitation. Why are you in a hurry?
I don't understand.
Yes.
Only they have the video
Well, again, this was the point where it was arrested, and I don't have much on this one.
That I was able to capture when the police was...
Okay, so 100%, that was what he wanted. That was 100% what he wanted. He wanted to be arrested. So he's played the Nigerian police, he's played, the presidency, he's played the executive arm of the government, because he needed this. And I explained before now, the reason was because it was like naturally nobody was really listening to him anymore. Peter Obi also on the stage has really, really taken a lot of his activist capital out. So people see, Peter Obi as the de facto opposition, in the country right now. And it's always been like, that has been very bad for his own career. So that's why he's always going hard on Peter Obi. So again, how does he, revive all of this political stuff? How does he revive his political relevance? No other way than to, look for a cause that is dear to people's heart, and then use that, to kind of get back into the news cycle. And then from there, he's going to launch, his 2025-7 election campaign, and then he go again and just be able to call himself a presidential candidate. That being said, one of the things that I think really happened was okay, so that's that for SOWORE. I want to actually move forward. We'll see what happens, and we'll see where this leads to. But again, it is what it is. I don't think okay. So so they rearrested him again, immediately after I had a bail. So I guess they arrested him. What we saw was them arresting him. Then October 24, which was yesterday, at the magistrate court, he actually got bail granted of 500,000 each to the activists and 13 others that were arrested for protesting at the detention of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. Now, a moment after the ruling, over 50 police officers led by Chief Superintendent Baru detained SOWORE again pending fulfillment of bail condition using force that injured his lawyer. Wow, that's crazy. So now they're saying it's just procedural, and then they announce new charges. And again, I went through the list of cases that he had. He had this defamation case where he had called Tinubu a criminal, and I think that was the beginning of all this, his recent political escapade and all of that. So they're announcing new charge against SOWORE under the Cybercrime Act for online posts criticizing. This is insane. Whoever is supporting this thing, now you may not like SOWORE, whoever is supporting this thing, should be ashamed of themselves. Let me just put it mildly. So now when you criticize President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which, I'm always telling you, if he does stuff that I like, I'll tell you. If he does stuff I don't like, I'll tell you. It's insane that you arrest a citizen for criticizing, even calling names, because he did call Buhari name. And I'm sorry, Tinubu's name. Why am I remembering Buhari? Tinubu's name. Now, I'm not supportive of him just going out and throwing all those derogatory language, and sometimes it's just all over the place. I'm not, but at the same time, I don't think it makes sense for someone like a Tinubu to have his people working at the executive arm enforcing the law to be arresting people for cybercrime. There's really no basis, because he called the president a criminal. Excuse me. That doesn't make sense.
Brought a paper which he called remand order, and we asked him to show us that remand order. He refused to show us. We asked him, if you are taking Toretto to prison custody, on what ground can you do that? If he's not able to perfect the bail condition, and if he's not able to do that, and you are taking him, where are the prison officials? The prison officials will be here. Why must it be police? Why must it be you? In the course of that, they descended on everybody. I was injured. I was blood stained in my beef. This is my beef. We were manhandled, and so rest cloth was torn. And they forced him into their vehicle, and they took him away.
Wow.
As we speak, we don't know where he is.
Where is in their custody? What do you mean you don't know where he is? He's in their custody now. They took him away. That doesn't mean they took him to their custody. I think from the Kuje whatever court. Then
but the bail perfection. If you perfect the bail today, then we want the police to justify why, whatever reason they have, to keep him. This is illegality. This is injury. Yes, this is my injury. This is 10. This is blood stain on my bib.
Oh, this bad.
CSP has to let them more than 50 officers. People were, in fact, a lot.
When you have, number one, Sowore is not a high-risk individual. He's not a terrorist. He's not he's not a terrorist and all that. So when you go in to arrest him with 50 policemen, that's, let me say, at least an overestimated number of policemen. At least 45 policemen out of those 50 should have been in charge of making sure that the average citizen is safe. And it shows how bad the situation is. Because really, it doesn't just make sense.
Was here in another matter entirely. He was arrested. People were arrested. People were trying to cover with their phone. Individuals who have cases in court were abducted. As we speak, we don't know where they are. And that is what the police institution have done today. They talk about court order. There's a court order now. They are like people are not respecting court order. But today they have come here to not just to violate court order, but to violate the sanctity of this premises. It's an embarrassment. And we call on the Attorney General. Because we know this is about Nigeria state. We call on the Attorney General. If the Inspector General of Police will not see reason, where they will not be reasonable in the face of any personal grievances they may have against or anybody, we call on the Attorney General to let sanity prevail. We call on the Nigeria Bar Association. They have come to destroy the sanctity of court. Police officers, they have come to violently to the court sittings were interrupted, and this is a public outrage. Everybody here today is disappointed because it is not expected. We felt police have followed the law. If the magistrate had denied bail today, that would be a justification. If the magistrate had granted bail and the defendant are not able to meet up, that would be a justification. But this thing happened around to 11 when the court had granted bail in this city. That's what witness in court today. That's what witness. We call for the release of OMOYELE SOWORE. That is very, very important. We call for his release. We call for his release. We call on the Nigerian Bar Association too to rise up. We cannot continue to watch things happen like this. Otherwise, people will lose faith in judiciary. People will lose faith in court process. Thank you.
Okay. So again, that's not about that. And I think at the end of the day, there's no way when you look at all of this happening, and when you look at how the police conduct themselves and even the government also, it just shows that like there's certain level of lawlessness that has been prevailing and also ruling the day. The story that he was arrested on, this is Benjamin Uday, I think is the public PRO officer. The story that he was arrested on a fresh charge and whisked away to Kuje prison to be arraigned on Monday is procedurally incorrect. A person arrested on a fresh charge cannot be taken straight to prison. No prison will accept such a person without a remand warrant duly issued by a competent court. He was taken to prison as instructed on the attached remand warrant, pending when he meets his bail conditions. So again, I was saying, I thought he was actually arrested on a fresh charge and put in custody, but then he's now remanded pending when he has his bail. Yeah. So again, you have to fulfill your bail condition before being released. So I'm not so sure what we're talking about in here. The ruling followed the arraignment on charges of unlawful assembly and disturbance of public peace after they were arrested during Thursday. Protests demanded the release of the detained IPOB leader. Despite meeting the bail condition, only Sowore was reportedly picked up again and weeks away. So, I mean, this is an argument against, which is what, and he's saying that this is not correct, that he didn't meet his bail condition. That's the PR of the police saying that. Is expected to be arraigned on Monday, October 27, on a fresh charge. So again, we'll see what happens. This is the Kuje Correctional Center, whereas the John above name has been arrested but before me. This, you are hereby authorized and required to receive full, I don't know what's written here, until further order provided that. Okay, so again, I'll just leave that to that. Let me see if I can get some more stories. So this Obasanjo has hinted that Tinubu will not win in 2027. Oh, really? Activists blast Wiki, Ascobi, El Rufai to unite. Okay, let me see. Let me see this. I don't even know who this man is. Let me see. Comrade Chris Ojekere.
I'm telling you the same thing that I'm telling you. It's a government of pain. It's a government that will be remembered as a government that came to inflict hunger and pain and has not recorded any developmental stride. So it's a government of wastage. Nigeria's money that God has blessed us with, this government has come to waste it in every sector.
Comrade Chris Ojekere is a political analyst. He's our guest on Nigeria Unfiltered. All right, let's have your impression about this government. How would you assess the state of the nation right now?
Well, I think I want to start by looking at it contextually. From the very beginning of democracy, the 5 regimes also we have had since the inception of democracy in 1999, the Fourth Republic. The first set of elected national leaders that we had was General Obasanjo, retired, and Atiku Abubakar as his vice president. That regime was marked by its pursuit of reforms. Nigeria before then.
Okay, so he's talking about the reforms that Obasanjo did. Okay, 1999. Let's start from there. Hello. What are we talking about? I won't take it away from Obasanjo that he did some reforms, but I expected more. He did some reforms in respect to the insurance sector, which is fine. He did the banking sector reform. Remember the consolidation, which was chaired and executed by Soludo. Yeah, that's fine. He did some pension reforms. He did also health, right, where we have the HMOs and all that. But there are basic reforms that is pivotal to the growth of a nation and for the future, where I believe that it left the major reforms that was necessary for a country like Nigeria to thrive while pursuing these other reforms. Other reforms, no doubt, they were good, but why didn't he fix electricity? That's the major questions. Why didn't he fix power? What about elections? Because it was until Jonathan came in that we had a semblance of something that made sense election wise under Jega. So when you're talking about reforms and you're talking about Obasanjo, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give him a pass mark when it comes to that. Because really, if all those reforms worked, maybe we won't be where we are today. Most especially in the area of electricity.
Was considered the pariah state. They were able to eradicate that negative impression. They brought in what we call the GSM today, that is the liberalized telecommunication.
Okay, so because it made us to be able to call on phone and give us the ability to buy an iPhone XR turned iPhone 17, those were just normal business stuff. Okay, as a democratically elected government, it should have allowed people to be able to express themselves. The fact that it did it, I'm not going to take it away from him, but again, I don't see that as a major achievement. Number one. Number two, these were private sector individuals coming in, bringing their hard-earned capital, some of them even losing money in the process.
Which has provided jobs for millions of Nigerians and still doing so. They pursued our debt, cancellation of our debts that we owed internationally. They achieved that. They brought in eggheads to come and rule and to come and preside over the affairs of governance, and they succeeded tremendously. After that government, we had Yaradua, who concentrated on reforms. He concentrated on reforming.
One of the things that Obasanjo planned to do when he was the president, and you can always check that, was that he had planned that he will phase out the removal of fuel subsidy. Okay, so he didn't have the balls to remove subsidy as at that time. So he had said, you know what, I believe the subsidy will be removed, and then he faced it such that most of the removal was going to fall under Yaradua. When Yaradua came in, the first thing he did was to actually, just take away, tear apart that plan, and he even reduced the price of fuel, of petrol. And that's why when you look at all the presidents, from 1999 to date, it was only Yaradua that reduced the price of petrol, which was a very, 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 very bad precedent and a very bad mistake, because truly reducing the price was not you making sure the forces of the market forces of demand and supply actually ruled the day. And it was under Yaradua that I think the petroleum subsidy scam was perfected. Because then we had the cabals. Then we also saw that it got entrenched under Jonathan. And then on and on, we had that, now it went blown, in a very, very, I'll say in a full-blown panic manner when Buhari became the president. Let's see if I can reduce this.
The electoral process. And then he brought a lasting peace to Niger Delta through the amnesty. And then he concentrated in reforming the civil service. That was another very, great leap in our journey.
I would prefer if we can get actual facts of how those reforms, benefited. Again, I won't take out banking reforms. I won't take out, some insurance reforms, health insurance for that matter. Again, after that, what about the major reforms? What about electoral reforms? How did they fare? I mean, now when Obasanjo goes out, the question they ask is, what about the third-term agenda?
Towards a democratic state. And then we had Goodluck Jonathan, who I describe as neither nor, that brought in elements of mediocrity, who actually did not make any mark that you could attach to him like this. But at least he left the nation state.
No, you can. I'm not a supporter of Jonathan. I never voted for him for once. And I felt like, it was gifted to us by Obasanjo. But again, that being said, you cannot say he never left any mark. Even though I didn't support him throughout, in fact, throughout his presidency was a big problem. But again, the only person that I would give electoral reforms too. From 1999 up until date, is Goodluck Jonathan. Through his own time, Jega was able to bring in some good reforms. You have to do your biometrics before you vote and all of those. And there's some semblance of sanity when it comes to election, which was a big departure from what we had with Obasanjo. Okay, so I mean, Yaradua came and said his election was not, free and fair. So again, what more can I say?
And then disaster started in 2015.
No, disaster started way before 2015. There was a reason why Buhari was voted into office. It wasn't as if people hated Jonathan. People were just like, you know what, we don't know where we're going. Everything was going down. Everything was going down. And again, people will be like, oh, things were really better during Jonathan's time. It's because you're not able to see into the future and to really know what was coming. And that's the problem. So people still felt that Jonathan was actually doing a lot good. No. His presidency was besieged with so many things. We saw Boko Haram take over big time. Almost 22 local governments, which is even bigger than some countries. We saw that happen. We saw him not being able to rein in the corruption. Why is it that Alison Madueke is not in the country today? The corruption was mammoth. Okay.
Brought in Buhari, whose government was a total disaster.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that one.
I recall that this present regime, this current government that we have today, were the ones, as a party, APC party, led by the president that we have today, that convinced Nigerians that if we all form a coalition under the APC, Nigeria was going to have a turnaround because he, with his experience, the military general with his experience, have all the experiences they need and Nigeria needs to have Nigeria turn around. So in 2015, we believed that story, and Buhari came in. That government was a disaster. Now, I have to go into all this context because I want to show you what led to why we are where we are today. Now, that government of Buhari, we thought we could never see a worse government than Buhari's. And during that 8 years of disaster, there was a formation of what we thought was going to be a new crop of leadership, which now culminated in the 2023 election. Some people now felt that because the other people have participated, at least in the presidential level as president, we should give this current president the opportunity to put to practice and put to effect what he had always preached. He had preached democracy. He had preached rule of law. He had preached defense of human rights. I mean, he has preached NWOKO as a former NWOKO person and all of that. So Nigerians said, let's give him a chance. He claimed to have fixed Lagos, highly contentious, but he claimed to have fixed Lagos. Nigeria said, okay, if he fixed Lagos, he claimed to be able to identify talents that fix solutions, that fix problems and bring solutions. People like Yemi Osinbajo as well. So Nigerians said, okay, let's give him a chance. Even though he had come out to say it was his turn, we thought that he was, in fact, he claimed to have been the most prepared person, because every other president you had, some confessed that they were not prepared. He claimed to have been the one who had prepared all his life for the presidency. And now we gave him a turn. Some of us didn't vote for him, but Nigerians, never mind what the election said and all of that, but it is assumed, we'll not take responsibility for it, since the Supreme Court have said he is the winner. So we gave him the chance. Today, what we have is a catastrophe. We have moved from a disaster that Buhari was to a cataclysmic situation. Now, what is this government identified for and with? I have just named what other governments were identified for and with. Since the president was sworn in Eagle Square, the recurring refrain from every single Nigerian, whether you are in the business sector, whether you are in the corporate sector, whether you are in the civil service, whether you are doing small businesses, or you are an enterprise or industry, the recurring refrain from every Nigerian that you would ask is that this is a government of pain, of hunger, and of anguish. That the only thing they get from this government as feedback of governance is that tariffs are being increased, is that electricity tariff is increased, telecommunication tariff is increased, fuel subsidy that at least we held on to. Whether it was right or wrong, whether it was flawed or straight, Nigerians held on to that and didn't give the sharks the opportunity to hike prices in the market. He removed it unilaterally at Eagle Square in a bravado manner, whereas he hasn't thought of any way to cushion what would be the effect, which shows if in fact he didn't know that it was going to create an effect, it shows his lack of competence. If he knew, it shows his wickedness. So both sides of
Oh, that's a lot to unpack there. I mean, the gentleman has tried to convince us that this government is a woeful government. And again, yeah, in a way, when you talk about this government in terms of security, yeah, I can agree with that. But again, if you're going to engage in economics or try to kind of point out where the government has failed when it comes to economics and all that, you should be able to understand how the economy works. And that's the problem that I have. You see, we can always come and say that, this guy was cruel. This guy was, he didn't think about this or he thought about that. You can argue that the reforms were necessary, but that the executive and the politicians at all level did not even pay a little bit of the price that the average citizens were forced to pay. You can bring that as an argument. But that you're saying that, the common man held on to the subsidy as long as it could. The little subsidy that the common man held on to, then Tinubu came to take it away. You've got to understand also then, what are the circumstances around that regime? Because now you just came here like, okay, fine, maybe it was incompetent or it's wicked. The fact that you go to the hospital because you have a certain problem and the doctor had to cut off your legs doesn't make the doctor wicked. The doctor has to just do what he has to do to save your life. And that was what happened with Tinubu. He was faced with a big situation. Is either this thing goes or the nation goes under. So from an economic standpoint and from, a very reasonable standpoint, that was the only thing, because there was no more reform. There was no more reserves. State governors couldn't pay salaries, despite the whole corruption and all that. So coming from, from someone like myself that, I understand that, he just had to do that. Now, could he have helped cushion the effect? Maybe. But again, what way? They give us ways at which you could have cushioned the effect when you don't have any reserve. And Buhari was a disaster, borrowing monies to pay subsidies. Then how do you then, try to justify that? How do you even try to explain that, okay, what we could do now is borrow more money while we keep paying a subsidy, when we all know that there was already a cabal or a system in place that makes it not even, close to something that was effective?
the sword is a two-edged sword. Now he removed it at Eagle Square. Since then up until now, Nigerian citizens cannot tell you these are the measures that this present president has put in place that is ensuring that they Nigerians are having their sufferings ameliorated. There is no ameliorating. When Buhari was there, who I describe as a disaster, he set up the Anchor Borrowers Program, which at least the North can say they benefited so much from. He produced a lot of young farmers in the North who were growing local rice. We don't have any such example. Rather, what we have is that in January, we are going to have to pay more taxes.
Okay. So it seems like someone is not listening. What are the benefits? Okay, can I? And again, it's not me just trying to, maybe help this government. No. One of the major things that I believe happened was, number one, people who didn't have any means to go to the university through the NEL funds are now benefiting. Okay. One. Number two, there's now been at least gradual increase in salaries and all that. And this is not my job to be doing. I shouldn't even be helping this government, say, because they have those in their I would say, communications or propaganda department. So, but I do agree in a way that a lot still needs to be done. There should still be some level of fiscal discipline.
What is even more annoying is that the man who is put in charge of that committee for fiscal reform, Taiwo Yedele, tells us now that beyond the taxes, the tax collectors, that is the government in place, does not care what you do to make money. In fact, he said that in the Redeemed Church in Lagos. And he said, and I quote, he said, if you are a runs girl and you go out to sleep with a man and he gives you money, and you just pay your tax on it, we don't care what you do.
Okay.
And then he said further that any person who is into whatever business that the law, the tax law, does not anticipate and does not take into cognizance what he does. All he needs to do is to pay his taxes. If you follow that up with the policy of going to free criminals from jail, and you tie it on, there's a connection between a policy of government as spoken by his official that they don't care what you do to make money, and going to jail to free criminals to get them back in the street. So if you want to extrapolate, you draw a conclusion. The conclusion is that this government has a policy of trying to obliterate any lines between what is moral, what is good, what is legal, and what is legitimate.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop here on this one. I think at the end of the day, he was talking about the presidential pardon, that Tinubu gave out, and I think there's a pause on that one right now. I'm not so sure, but I think there's a pause on that presidential pardon right now because, number one, it was a disaster. I don't even know who in the presidency is advising Tinubu that this was actually good stuff. There was a lot of bad omen that came out from that presidential pardon list, because the first thing when I read that list, I saw number one. This person was convicted for drug offense. I said, no, they're not going to leave this guy. They're going to come for Tinubu on that. I mean, it takes a alleged drug baron to release another drug offender, which was crazy. So I think people were like, this is nonsense. There was also some of this like about Macaulay family, it was also, granted presidential pardon. And the problem was that people said, you know what, we don't want that. Sorry, the family said, we don't want that pardon because, I mean, how dare you tell us that you are pardoning drug offender and then the name of, our own great grandfather, Abba Macaulay, was also on that same list with other drug offenders. So they said, you know what, we don't think we're gonna accept this pardon, and it was more of a very bad omen. And I don't even know who's advising who in this Tinubu's government. But again, that's that about that. One interesting thing also that I really want to go look at right now is the fact that we got a new chief of staff. So I'm just gonna see what's happening on that front. French chiefs. Okay, so let's see what this news is about. And again, one of the things that I said is that I finally, and I don't even know where this is coming from, but finally, we do have some good news when it comes to the military sector, the defense sector.
Now happen in the top military rank in the country. So this is what he did today. The president made some changes in the hierarchy in the service chiefs. He has replaced General Christopher Musa with General Olufemi Oluyede, who is now going to be serving as the chief of defense staff. The president also appointed Major General Shaibu as the new chief of army staff, Air Vice Marshal Aneke as the chief of air staff, and Rear Admiral Abbas as the new chief of naval staff. The Chief of Defense Intelligence, Major General Undine Ndeye, retains his position. The change was announced in a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President of Media and Public Communications, Sunday Diary, earlier today.
Okay, so before we actually go on there, I did ask, I consulted Grox. I asked Grox, okay, fine, tell me, what this is, and also with the aftermath of what has happened, and then the different changes. So you would recall that there's been this rumor. I'll call it a rumor, and it seems like there was a rumor that there was kind of a plan, and there was, there was this coup that was being planned. Now, I don't even know, and I must give kudos to whoever is in charge of the communications with this, because this whole thing was buried. I think our reporters came out and said, oh, you know what, there's more like a scare that was happening. And that was one of the reasons, they gave that it was partly one of the reasons why the presidential parade that usually happens on the 1st of October was suspended, because they said, oh, that the president had some tough schedule and needed to rest. Like, how dare you give that excuse, with respect to what's happening in the country? So again, there was that rumor, like, oh, like there's a coup that might be happening, that might be planned. But then it was actually nipped in the bud. So there was also stories of disloyalties and all of that. There was a cancelled parade that happened. And then, yeah, so again, that was leaked out by Sahara reporters. Now we don't know, but if we had the old truth, but I think there's a lot of stuff that has been brewing. The intelligence unit has also been doing its own work. Now that being said, October 4, there was the arrest. The DHQ went public and announced the arrest in a third statement that there was a routine military exercise that resulted in the arrest of 16 officers over the issue of discipline and breach of service regulation. That's it. Once you see these, then you know that there was actually a possibility that there was a coup being planned against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There's no way. How do you explain that you arrest 16 people after a report came out that actually that there was a scare of, possibly there will be some bomb activity and there will be some takeover of the government, in on October 1st, and that it was planned that this would happen during the Independence Day parade. That was the whole story. Now, they kept on saying that no coup was planned, no coup was planned, just an housekeeping to maintain discipline and professionalism. I'm not buying this story. No, no, no. This is just more of a safe face story to keep the morale around the president high. I believe the president was also disturbed by that report. And again, this is what happens when you allow the security of your country to go to ruins. And the dutiful young men and women of the armed forces, I'll give it to them. Like, it was so painful during the Jonathan years when we had military men complain that they don't even have weapon that could match the weapon of the terrorist. And that was really bad. So again, despite a lot of money is being, channeled into security, we still don't have a very good result. This government, I can't even rank them high when it comes to security, and that's the truth. And again, it's not as if there are no activities being done. The challenge is that I can't see the results. And if I can't see the result, then how do I judge this government? How do I judge them as being effective, despite the trillions of naira that has been spent on security every year? So when the story came out about the coup and all of that, I felt like there was something actually brewing. The public didn't buy the whole story, and then Sahara reporters doubled down, citing that they had their own source and all that. The probe widened. By October 20, PR Nigeria reported that politicians from the South and North were under scrutiny, including a Southerners governor accused of funding the scheme. Oh, that's bad. Let me see if I can get this. Who was, in the South that was supporting this? Now, the GHQ fought back and said, democracy is forever, branded the room as baseless, malicious, and all of that, and that there was a denial that there was no probe and all that. Retired general lawyer condemned any subversion, but the damage was already done. So these were the key timelines. Okay, this one you had a cancellation, this one you had a statement, and then you have all this media stuff and all that. Now, this is the reality of what happened. October 20. Okay, that was what happened. Coup plot in 25, and I said, no way. One user scored while another won and said, this ruins. One of the ruins was the 1966 coup. That's one of the major coup that has brought us to where we are at this point. Then on October 24, one day before the rumored strike date, Tinubu struck first. In a swift State House release, he approved a major shake-up, a reshuffling. So this was what happened. Let's look at this. The Chief of Defense Staff, outgoing, nothing Musa no go see for gate, right? So General Christopher Musa is out, replaced by Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede Yoruba. When I saw the list at first, I said, man, we're going to hear everything about nepotism, about how he's bringing the Yoruba and bringing his boys to government and all of those. But again, I digress. That's not what I want to talk about today. I made a video a few days ago talking about the security situation in Nigeria and how Tinubu is failing woefully. And I've not been particularly impressed about how he has approached security in Nigeria, especially the Southeast. I never thought that the Southeast would even disintegrate in terms of security to this point. And I don't care who they voted for or not. As long as you can't secure the life of everybody, and when I say everybody, I don't mean that, one or two bad things won't happen, but I mean on a larger scale, if you can't secure the life of everybody in your own country, then I'm sorry, you're not fulfilling your oath, the oath that you took to that office. So I was really so not happy with the way the security situation has been in the Southeast. We know that Northeast is a little bit, different, and the reason why I said that is that they've had like perennial issues, that is security issues for more than 10, even more than 12, 13, around 14 or 15 years now since the first issue of insurgency started. But I didn't expect, I know the Southeast also has had their own agitation, but I didn't expect that, at some point that it would disintegrate to this point where people just kill people indiscriminately. So I wasn't happy with that. And I don't care what they voted for. As long as they're part of Nigeria, at least as of today, they should have been well taken care of. So that was one of the things that I felt like I wasn't happy. But again, so they said this guy, he led an operation neutralizing 567 terrorists in 24-25. And that was a success. So again, I said, fine, this was what I wanted to see. I wanted to see people that have been on the field trying to secure life, not people that are just in Abuja making policies, because I believe that within a year, you should have been able to tackle security issues in the country if you know what you were doing within 1 year, even maybe shorter than that. Chief of Army Staff, is going, General Lukayode. Now you have what? General W. Shaibu, Major General W. Shaibu, battled hardened, rescued 2,000 plus 2,002 plus civilians and led 9,800 patrols. Again, this is good. Chief of Army Staff, I don't know this, but again, Aneke became the Air's Vice Marshal. Sorry, Chief of Air Staff, rather. You have Aneke, and then you have Chief of Naval Staff. You have ADM High Abbas. So again, I believe that with this new, new setup, I'm waiting to see what happens. I'm waiting to see what good stuff, becomes of the Nigerian security situation, because things are really bad right now. And if you think it's not important, I'm sorry, you're missing the mark. And the trigger for me was one, the Kwara State stuff that happened, and then just shortly after, then we had this story about Christian, genocide and all that. And we had the guy from the US that came, a lot of internet drama. And maybe this was part of what also informed some of this decision. Not that there were no other things going in the background before that happened. Tinubu praised the outgoing for patriotic service and charged the new team with professionalism, vigilance, and comradeship. I'm praying and I'm hoping that we get to the bottom of this insurgency, because whoever has been, pushing this, there are people that have names, they have families, they have children. You need to be able to get to the first basic principle, those that are really supporting this senseless killing of the Nigerian people. So this was in another news, this was what happened. And I think that this set of individuals possibly would help. Again, I'm gonna be watching. I want to see reasonable changes when it comes to security in Nigeria. If nothing serious happens in the next 3 months in terms of direction, and then by 6 months seeing visible result, I'm going to call out Tinubu again, because that's what it is. That's I don't know, like maybe I'm not getting it, but I think it should be able to settle this issue of security, at least to a good, reasonable, extent, so that lives are secured and people's, property is saved. I mean, there's still the issue of the Fulani herdsmen and, and the farmers. There's been serious cases of loss of life this year alone. We don't need a white man to come into the country to come and tell us how we should lead our lives or we should do things. But when you don't do your job, when lives are being destroyed every day, when kidnapping is rampant across the nation, then there's no way the white man won't come and tell you that, what, you guys don't know what you're doing. Maybe we should cut a deal with Donald Trump. Why? Because you actually, left your house unguarded and unkept. So again, that's that about that with the new story about the new this. Now I know the North is not gonna take this. They're not gonna take this list, and I'm waiting for that battle. But again, give us your top players. Give us your top players. I mean, you guys have been in power for God knows what, both in the military and also, currently in the civilian stuff. So we'll see what happens. But this is who these are the guys that are in charge that will be looking up to do something. So again, that's that about that. Um, what's this? Labour Party obedient National Youth Leader versus APC National Youth Leader. Labour Party Youth Leader was shown the difference between being an ordinary party and a ruling party today at the elective convention of the Forum of National Youth Leaders of Political Party. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Let me see.
I move a motion for this house to adopt 1 year tenure.
Seconded, National Youth Leader, APC, ruling party.
Yes.
Ruling party.
Ruling party is supporting it.
Yes, it is what it is. I have some stuffs before I move further. I just bookmarked some stuffs here that I want to just go through. I don't know if they're still relevant, but again, let me see now. So I learned that this guy, Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, collapsed because, I mean, all thanks to SOWORE. So they arrested this guy during the Freedom the Kanu's protest. I think, unfortunately, and it's not a laughing matter for him, all right. But I felt like if you're defending your client, you should be focused on the case. Let SOWORE do the running around and the protesting. You should focus on bringing a well, ironclad defense for your guy. But when you now start taking to the street, then I think it's also you're sending a message that, what, I don't believe in the justice system. And maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. Maybe he doesn't really believe in the justice system, but he's a lawyer. Because if you believe that the justice system is not going to favor you, or it's not even going to work, and it's been skewed and rigged, Then maybe that was why he decided to, you know what, I'm just going to take to the street. Unfortunately, I learned it collapsed when they were hearing the case for his bail, and then he fell ill, at the correctional center just 24 hours after the presiding magistrate declined to endorse the bail bond for his release. I think they should release the guy because even Nnamdi Kanu himself is a big problem for them right now. And I don't know the deal that they're gonna cut, but it is what it is. Um, Let me see if I have other stuff in here. So there's also this story about, the 25% tax, that the government is going to be collecting from people. And I hope that, you know, eh, number one, I don't think, the government should be increasing its taxes. But I don't think that's the case here. I think the real case here is that there are a lot of people that are not operating in the formal sector where, you go to the bank, you go to your, office, maybe you have a manufacturing company, then you're well, recruited, and you pay your payee tax and all that. There are other people that they don't really declare taxes and they don't pay taxes. So I think now it's not necessarily an increase. In fact, those of you that are earning salary and earning very low, you're not going to be paying tax when it comes to January. That's part of the new changes in the tax law. But there's a lot of the people that are in the informal sector that, they just buy and sell things on the streets, or they, just, maybe like some of these social media guys. I don't think all of them pay taxes. Most of them don't even keep their books. So now this guy is coming out to cry, to say, you know what, this should not happen. Let's see.
Mr. President, do not implement 25% income tax next year. I just came from solar shopping. I spent 1 point something million. If say you implement 25% income tax, the money where I make, where I use buy this solar, I for no make am because 25% income tax has reduced my total income. That means I will not be able to buy this solar, which will ultimately kill the economy permanently. The economy will die permanently. If person they make 3 million a year and you collect 25%, how much should remain? You see, economy go die, Mr. President. If you collect 25% of my income, I no go fit buy solar. Now be my point. Mr. President, share you the listen. Banga, dererem, organic.
Okay. So again, I don't know. It's classic because people pay taxes in Nigeria. I mean, you're saying someone earning 3 million and they're collecting 25%. Currently, right now, people go into their offices who don't even earn as much as some of the celebrities, they pay a lot of taxes. So how on earth would those people be paying taxes? And then you have other people like this guy, standing against paying of taxes. So let me just get this straight. You make money, you pay your taxes. There is no necessary increase because, again, according to the law, if you're earning 800K less, you're not going to pay anything. So new people that have not been paying taxes, which I think is unfair to those that go to work, that have their own 8 to 5 job, they pay taxes and they don't even earn that much. And then you have all the people that make, excess in monies and all that, not paying. So again, I don't think, this is, I'm thinking that shouldn't be. So let's see this one. This one will come out from journalism and venture into politics. Let's
Any
see what does
Igbo
Rufai has
man
to say.
that wants to run for presidency, go ahead and run. Do not listen to Ohaneze Ndigbo.
I agree. Like, nobody should, be saying that no Igbo man would contest presidency against Tinubu. When I heard this thing, I was like, what the hell? What's happening here? Why would a group come and say no Igbo man will contest against Tinubu in 2027. Even Afenifere, that they are not even Tinubu's friend anyways, but Afenifere can never say that a Yoruba man should not contest against Tinubu. Why? This is one of the things. I understand that there are deals being made. I mean, the South is already. I'm talking about the political class. Have already decided to go for Tinubu, but again, I don't understand why they will come out to make this kind of a statement.
It is clear, it is certain that socio-political groups are fast losing their relevance.
Yep.
We had our own.
And I don't really agree with this guy more often, but again, it is what it is. But
own tiff between factions of Afenifere on who to endorse in the last elections. Till today, that tiff is still on, although some of them say they are trying to reconcile. Socio-political groups cannot hold the ace of anybody's ambition.
Okay.
The analogy that the surest path to presidency will be waiting till 2035 is their own agenda. And you have...
I don't even think that the 2035 will work because, again, Tinubu does, his second time, if he's so elected, I don't know, up until 2031. Okay. So again, the North will be agitating that they need power. So if anything, which I believe the Southeast should actually be given a shot at the presidency, hopefully the realignment that they're working on right now maybe works out. But the Southeast presidency will be a 2039. I wouldn't lie. Except if an Hausa man comes in and kicks Tinubu out. Once Tinubu is out, I think that you might likely, have an increased agitation, from a Southeastern person for 2035. And that's Tinubu is out 2027, which I don't see that happening. Might be wrong, but I don't see that happening.
Seen clearly, they put somebody, measure the name in their own agenda, which is Umahi. So that's the Ohanese Ndigbo's Umahi's agenda. It's different from the free rights you have as enshrined in the Constitution. No socio-political group can tell you your faith. That's just it. But I'm not surprised.
Again, they're not saying that if Peter Obi is contesting. So they're just saying that from their own point of view, which I think is very wrong. You can't come out and say, especially when you are a group that is well known and renowned. And I don't think this is a view of an average Igbo person, alive today. This is not going to be, I don't even see Tinubu winning a state in the Southeast, and I might be wrong, it's Jagaban for a reason. But again, it's not going to get 5% like it did last election. I think it will be able to surpass the minimum 25% in those Southeastern states, if not even closing as much as having more than 25% in those states. And that's just the basic analysis. So right now, the South is technically under Tinubu's, caprices. The North, all it just needs to do there is to actually even out and maybe win some, and then he comes back as president. It's not difficult at all if you can sit down and reason and also pay the price.
A women's wing of Ohanese, I think, tilted towards Atiku in the last election. Professor George Obi, also when he was alive then, tilted towards Obi. So the truth is, no socio-political group, they are just like another pressure group. And what pressure groups do is, they come out of their pressure cooker and talk. It doesn't mean it's a generality. I just have to set that straight.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. So, okay, that's fine. Let me see what else I got here. That's that about that. Who's this? Admired, I'm a showman. He always says the bitter truth. Okay,
we don't mention name. Everybody becoming sending their own children abroad. And one thing we shouldn't do, sir, is that when we talk and you don't mention name, everybody becoming suspect. If you are afraid, given the fact that you are very vocal, you are independent, you cannot be dismissed, you cannot be promoted or demoted. If you are afraid to mention the name of a governor, a former governor, who breached the law, and a city governor who used immunity to cover a governor that lost immunity, where will the courage come from? this sophistry of saying we can name the child of a poor man who steals a goat, but we are afraid to mention the name of a big man who breaks the law. That, for me, is at the root of our problem. Number two, Bishop Kuka, I also think that religion has been added to our burden of problems. When people preach that if you believe in our Lord Jesus Christ, he will deliver you from poverty, that's a lie. We know it.
Okay.
And I see them every day. And I think Falana made the point that people are setting up business centers. And they cover themselves by saying they are pastors. And in every donation that is being made in church, when the big man dies, that is where Reverend Fathers and pastors, we identify these people to remind us that the church has not been completed. And all those who are to donate are invariably public officers. From their salaries, everybody is contributing to the confusion that we find ourselves in. And I was worried by one word you used at the beginning. Nobody spoke on it. And I think you were trying to be internationally correct. You mustn't try to be. You should be correct within the context of Nigeria value system. Where you spoke to regardless of sexual orientation, no. That is fashionable in the West. In Nigeria, sexual orientation matters. A man should not sleep with a man. And a woman should not sleep with a woman.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's
we can name the child of a poor.
That's that about that. I don't even know what to make of this, because I mean, this person as a senator, his party is in power, and I don't really see so much being done to resolve a lot of these criminal cases. I mean, this guy that is shown in this picture right here, we still saw him just last week, okay, saying that he's going to endorse Tinubu. So they need them for votes. Okay, what happens is most of these guys, when they have cases, they move over to APC, and all their cases just gets vanished, or you don't hear anything. The current Senate president right now, Akpabio, had his own case, and then he moved to APC, and that was the end. And that's why I don't support these political parties, not because it's a fashionable thing to do, but just because it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, you have all of these people from PDP, they're still in APC. You have all those guys also, formerly in other parties. Now you have the LP senators moving over to APC, and it's just more of a charade, no ideology, nothing whatsoever. So, again, just going through some of my bookmarks and all of that. Okay, this guy is talking about why flights in Nigeria are too expensive. I think this is worthy to.
Can somebody be flying from Barcelona in Spain to Bristol in England, and the person is paying 18.30 euros? And then somebody wants to fly from Abuja to Lagos, and you people are collecting $79.90 US. Don't tell me that the lesser the time, the costlier the fee. That's total bullshit, bro. What happened to the naira?
Apologies for the language.
Why is the charge in dollars? You can imagine 18.30 euros. When you convert it, it is around 20 plus US. And when you do the conversion to naira, it is around 30 plus naira. So where is this whole $79.90 US coming from? If somebody wants to travel from Abuja to Lagos, look at the price of local flights. Look at the price of international flights. Can you imagine how many Nigerians are earning up to that amount in a month?
Again, you're gonna check with the TSA. You just have to check with the TSA and all that. That's just it, because there are some certain taxes that has been embedded into the flight stuff. Let me see.
We normally do. We must stop. That's all. So when you enter into the bedroom with your husband, you must never be decent. You must only be recent. Someone say the husband must be on top. Where did you see in the Bible?
So a wife can be on top.
Better. Every woman should be promoted. In fact, the way a man sees you when you are coming on top is like a rainfall. It's another way. You see, strange women outside, they don't sleep with men. They sleep with the memory of men. They sleep. But an average African woman, we only sleep with the husband, with the genital of the husband. But you give him something to remember when you even get to the office. When you want to toast a girl, the first thing you will help her to remove is respect. Don't call me sir. Don't call me sir. Don't call me sir. Family room. You met a girl. He's a teller in a bank, and he said,
welcome, sir.
Mr. Chooks, you are welcome. Mr. Chooks, after about you've been their customer for about 6 months, and suddenly you have interest in that guy, and he said, the guy said, oh, Mr. Chooks, you are coming. He said, no, don't call me Mr. Chooks. My name is Michael. In fact, my friend called me Michaelo. Don't call me. Now, eventually, you marry that girl, and you now go into the bedroom. The guy said, Michaelo. He said, no, I'm your husband. The guy is confused.
Okay, that's honest bunch. I think that it's gonna come out Monday, 6 p.m. I don't know if I'm gonna be watching this. I mean, it's just gonna be like different analysis here and there, but it is what it is. Let me see. I don't know why since popping up. Regina mom sent a message. Okay. So I know this story has been all over the place, but I learned that the lady has now, I think, went back to the husband, and the lady went back to the husband rather. And let me see what the mom has to say.
Why are you acting like God? Why? Why are you acting as if you are God when you know you are not? When you know you are not. That the owner of our souls, our lives, our breath is up there, watching. That the owner of the universe is there, watching you and I, watching each and every one of us. Mr. Strongman, it's just a twinkle of an eye, and it goes. Ask from the past strong men, where are they today? The past strong men, where are they today? High and mighty, where are they today? I thought we would have learned from the past.
Okay, I don't have. It's a family affair. I don't have anything to add. I mean, each family will settle their own problems when it's time and all that. There's also been a debate about the debt of Nigeria with respect to how Tinubu has just been borrowing monies and all that. And I'm going to shock you with this. See, the truth about the matter is that no matter what you do, in this current dispensation, if you have a very serious government in power, they're going to borrow and borrow more. And look at the roads. Look at the various, infrastructure deficits. There is no coming out of this without borrowing massively if you have a serious government that is really to do stuff. So when I say all this analysis, number one, Nigeria is not even, when it comes to checking it with its peer, we're not even close to other countries in terms of indebtedness. Now, the concern people have is this: how do we ensure that monies borrowed are actually channeled to the right infrastructure development and not siphoned by the politician? Well, that's another debate. But if you really want to have all your roads, you want to have all your infrastructure done, you want to have the best of the roads, the best of the other stuff, then I don't know. I think you have to have a president that wants to work, and then they have to be able to borrow. It's fulfilling its campaign promises. I don't know what this is all about. Let me see if I can listen to
I'm
it.
a trained finance person. From accountancy to Deloitte, I've been involved in liquidations and resuscitations. See from my administration that I will see the two items, monetary
and fiscal
policy, as two parallel lines. And you are in the construction industry. You know what that means in geometry. They don't meet. How we separate monetary policy for fiscal policy
Okay, I'm gonna
and win
fast
the
forward.
election.
So this was during the campaign, just saying that I was gonna do. I mean, to be honest with you, it is what it is. So this is it says this if election is out today, these finance boys will piss for tea, baby. Look, we all know what we're doing. Did you guys see the meeting that Sheyi Tinubu had with some of these Igbo business people and Igbo leaders? I'm thinking that is moving more to a declaration of his governorship campaign and aspiration. I don't know if it's going to be in 2027, but I just feel that there's something brewing from there because they told us it was a birthday ceremony, but I don't see anything close to a birthday ceremony there. We'll see what happens. Okay, and that's that about that. Let me see if I can see any other thing. Oh, this is international news. Let me hear
Arrested.
this.
And I asked them, why did you rearrest Sowore? Why did they rearrest him? They said it's a different matter. He called Mr. President one bad name.
Okay, so again, I think I went through this, and I don't think that was what happened. They said they arrested him, they remanded him until he gets his bail condition fixed. Husbands with no earnings. I saw this and I was like, what's happening? How come you have so much husbands in the southeast with compared to other region with no earnings, right? 4.5. So out of 1,000 women in the southeast, 45 of them don't earn. Anyway, these are just normal stuff. Okay, I've seen this. Wiki being subpoenaed. Abel Damina tried to talk to President Trump and tell President Trump because President Trump had done a video saying that he's not sure if he's gonna make heaven. And then he came here, Abel Damina told him that, you know what? You can only make heaven when you look at the work that Christ has done on the cross. It's no one is able to give himself that right of passage to heaven except Christ dies for their sins. And that's it. And they then believe, right, that Christ died for their sins. That's just it. Let me see this guy.
Quite sad news.
This guy likes to talk a lot. Let me just listen to what he has to say.
Unfortunate news that some soldiers have been arrested for allegedly planning to stage a coup. I believe you have seen those reports. The question is, we don't want a coup in Nigeria. The point is that we don't want any coup in Nigeria. I'm totally against it. But can you say today that the Tinubu regime, the Tinubu government, has not waged a coup against the constitution of our country?
This guy talks a lot. I don't even know.
You tell me this morning that there is no coup against the democracy in this country? Because the moment you begin to say people cannot protest in the villa, people cannot protest in the Eagle Square, people cannot protest Sheku Shagari Way, do you want Nigerians in Abuja to go to Sambisa Forest to protest? Do you want people to go to the forest to protest?
All right.
This is a clear indication that this government has no respect for the rule of law. Look at the No Kings protest in US. Millions of Americans took over a lot of places in the US. Go to the White House today, you can find Americans protesting. Go to number 10 in London. You can find people in UK protesting in front of the Prime Minister's residence. What is sacred about the villa that Nigerians cannot protest? What is sacred about the National Assembly? If I cannot go to the National Assembly to protest, where am I supposed to protest? This Tinubu presidency, here is a president who took part in protest. Here are people in power, the APC, that came to power based on protest. Today, they are criminalizing protests, they are stigmatizing those who are holding placards, while the same government is romancing bandits that is using AK-47 to kill Nigerians, giving amnesty to criminals while attacking people that are holding a placard. This is not how to build a democracy. You cannot say you want a democracy, you don't want a coup, and at the same time, you are attacking the legitimate right of Nigerians to protest. Let the government be serious. Let us stop this weaponization of the legal system.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of the things he said, unfortunately. Or whatever. Well, I don't understand this new crop of lawyers that are just like, once they have beards like this, like DG, and this guy, they just feel like they can't just be, talking anyhow to anybody. But I agree with him. I mean, let's remove sentiment. It's becoming difficult to, protest and freedom of speech, making your voice heard, is one of the major tenets of democracy. And for whatever reason, when they brought out these cyber bullying, law, I was a little bit, concerned because I kind of understand that people take some of this cyberbullying to the extreme level, which they should be prosecuted for that. But again, I know that this law primarily was not to help the average man that might be at the mercy of someone cyberbullying. I think it was done to protect the politicians. So that you can read this report, or when you do investigative research and you do a journalistic investigative reporting, they don't want you to report stuff. So again, I think in a way this guy is right, although I don't understand the part of the coup to democracy. I mean, these are just kind of metaphorical words that I don't know really takes away from the substance, but it's right. When a government start policing speech, or when a government start telling you that you cannot say this, you can only say that, then there's a big problem. And that's what should be really, addressed. So again, I'm not for all this. I mean, if someone is cyberbullying, okay, you should be able to sue the person to court. I understand all of that. People should not just go online and molest people, or share pictures that have been taken in privacy or sensitive stuff. I get all of that, but I'm saying that the way this thing is being used is primarily used to silence the opposition, which is not a good one. Okay, let's look at these. If PDP or APC had found anything against me, I would have been in trouble by now. It doesn't work that way, actually. But again, okay, fine. Aragbeshola led the battle to prevent Ambode from getting a second term. I don't know what's up with Aragbeshola. I mean, it's more like a pain, right? Like, I don't know where this leads to. The so-called ADC, it's already dead on arrival. But again, what do I know, right? But Aragbeshola too was eventually expelled from APC, and now Ambode is back. So I learned that Ambode endorsed Tinubu for a second term, which it should do. I mean, he's been a benefactor of Tinubu's political whatever. May our end. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so again, there's been this story that has been all over the place with respect to. I think I call it a trifecta, more like a triangle effect. So the B-Lord stuff, and this was what happened. B-Lord and VDM. So B-Lord was this guy that went to China, and already he's been going to China. He already has some goods and all that. VDM, thinking that it was a good time to strike back because they had their own personal beef, decided to go after the guy's money and the guy's source of income. And when that happens, of course, as a business person, even if you're not a business person, if you're working and someone is at your workplace trying to discredit your work or go after you, I'm not sure you're going to just take it and let it lie. No, so I think B-Lord strike back. And I made, some observation, and this is not me trying to support the Igbo business or not support the Igbo business. I just feel like it was a very big misstep, on VDM's part. And the funniest thing about people that listen to that guy, which I mean, I don't know, he has the right to gather whoever kind of audience that he actually dance to. That's within his own right. He has the right to conduct his business the way he wants. But what really fascinates me is how people who are coming out to say, it was a very, very, it was a very, very baseless stuff where he said it was going to crash prices of this, crash prices of that. And again, I said, well, I'm a free market person. I don't want government to get in charge. That's why I hate price control, because price control doesn't do anything. As we've learned from the issue with Naira and dollar in US, where a certain individual can get Naira and dollar at 300 Naira, while every other person will get it at 1,000 plus. So again, I don't like that. If you have an idea, you want to have a business, you want to go after someone, then just go open your own shop. You're going to get your customers. But the idea that you can crash a price, can crash the price of a particular product without you even not understanding the logistics and how the thing works is just kind of grossly retarded to me. So that was what happened. At the end of the day, you know, the guy tried to bring in some stuff. He started saying that people were harassing him, but you went for someone's business, against someone's business. So this guy, that being said, when VDM also went to China, I think he met with this guy and they had a fallout. Now, I'm not going to take this guy's word and I'm not going to take VDM's word. I don't know who they are. But again, you know, it is what it is. It's trending. Sorry, it's trending. Like if you go on Facebook, like the algorithm is just massively just spamming with VDM content. I'm like, what the hell is happening? And again, I don't get anything of substance, you know, from most of those engagements. The funny thing is those that are coming out to say, I'm a big Rattel fan, but I must say the truth. I'm like, dude, once you start your sentence with I'm a big Rattel fan, like what the hell do you want to talk about? That wouldn't even make sense. But let's see.
Except this stupid VDM. I think he's very stupid. He don't have one coin. He's not the businessman. He sharp to the businessman. I told him, you can complain. Ross, you gave me, he complaining, Ross, your food is not nice. Yeah, no problem. And he can complain, Ross, you look ugly. No problem. He can complain, Ross, your English is quite bad. It's so bad. No problem. Okay, I'll accept idea. In China, in America, okay, in Russia, in Japan, Australia, if every day want to spoil your reputation, you will fight to him, to the end. Right? Am I right? Only many Africans told me, Ross, you should keep your silence. Focus.
Okay, I mean, it's just the whole story. Okay, just to talk about this, the whole story is just that. I mean, these guys are not. So there's this story of okay, he gave him money to come to China. He got to China. There's been a lot of back and forth and all that, but it is what it is. Okay, I'm not gonna dwell more on that. But I'm at Tinubu GCFR or what's this one? Okay, that's Nigerians as no elite. Sorry, I have updated this video I made last year to include big coverage and latest. It's okay. Okay, let me see.
Tinubu government. And that's a good one. And that's a symbolic gesture. Because the thrust of every government should be accountability. And when they do well, I'll say it. And I can only imagine what Minister Wale Edun went through to get this passed. I'm sure a lot of centripetal forces and centrifugal forces in this government, if they had seen this coming, they would have been mounted roadblocks. But Mr. Wale Edun passed it. And commendations to Mr. Wale Edun and the Tinubu government this morning. And it's beginning to make sense. Maybe this was what he did to get some of the attacks he got recently. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Having this DevOps system where there's transparency and accountability as regards government receipts is a step in the right direction because we have constantly tried to tackle the problem of accountability. Many years ago, we had something called the Oronsaye reports, which was also talking about streamlining government to be able to bring about shrewd management and accountability. In fact, we had the TSA, the single treasury account, so that monies will be able to come in so that we're able to have a level of accountability. This one, with this ecosystem, which I think also should be made available to the public, is going to give you a real-time breakdown of governmental agencies and ministries. Let's even see what they are making real time.
The one good thing that I really, understand and I also kind of get from Tinubu and appreciate is this. You get into a government, there's a lot of problems everywhere. A lot of problems. And that's why, most of these people that talk, these people that try to, suggest and do stuff, they're not in the ring. They're not in the arena. They don't do stuff. When you look at their personal life, they're not even there. Okay. But one thing I've come to understand and see from Tinubu is that he thinks in terms of long term. it doesn't really, get himself so bogged down with the short-term pains, short-term noise, short-term cries, which again, you might think the person that would be able to get himself into all those short-term will be the best person for you. But history has always shown us that most of the people that do big reforms are not those that are loved by the people. Everybody shouts about Abraham Lincoln today, but when he was fighting that war to end slavery, he wasn't a popular president. In fact, when he was reelected, when he was later killed, when he was reelected, he actually was not the one that got the popular vote. Okay, people that do stuffs, people that, like this revolutionary stuffs and all that, people that stick their head down and say, no, this is what's going to happen, they're not loved. So what Tinubu is doing is, sector by sector. That's why I keep asking myself, when I was listening to that guy talking about Obasanjo's reform, I'm saying, well, he did some good reforms, but he didn't do reforms in places where it was critically necessary for the survival of a nation. That's why immediately left, everything fell apart. Everything fell apart. And again, like this federal treasury receipt is just one out of the myriad of so many reforms that the president has gotten himself into. And that's it. So as we, just look at these reforms and look at all the things he's doing, that doesn't mean you don't call out the government when they miss it. That doesn't mean you don't criticize the government. That doesn't mean you don't, tax them and make them, make it pay to them not to perform. But it's just that you have to also recognize when things have been done right and done well. And again, it takes time. It takes time to build. When Jide Sanwo-Olu sends his boys to go destroy some of these houses that have been constructed illegally or that they don't have the right permit, it doesn't take time. Within one day, those houses are down. You can destroy a house within one day, but you can't build a house within a day. You can even try to use 3D, but you're not going to be able to put everything, electricity and all that within a day. And that's the reality.
And let's see how they are remitting all of this. This will remove the paraquoism and the brickbat some agencies do in this country. Anyway, we came from an era where agencies had multiple bank accounts, and God knows the corruption that goes on there. Even when the Auditor General audits and brings out the report of the shenanigan, nothing is done. So this we put in direct light, and this will also aid our job as journalists. So we can see real time what is going on. We can see how much agencies are making, government departments are making. We can see those that are not even making enough, and we are able to give an assessment on them. So it's a good one. But one other thing I would like to beg the government for. You see, as we go into a new tax dispensation, people want accountability. This same dev-op, I want you to do the same for the Nigerian budgets. Because you see, one of the easiest places to swindle a lot of Nigerians is through the budgets. When you have a budget and a budget cycle where some contracts are notorious as scam contracts, aka contracts are OG River.
But shouldn't this also cover that? That's what I'm thinking now. Shouldn't this also cover that? I might have to deep dive, deeper into this.
We don't want that. So, with the way you did the dev up, dear Tinubu government, do it in such a way that the budget, every line item is on a real-time platform. We can see how much funding has gone into those projects. We can see the execution going on in the projects. And we can also see the accountability partners and the funding sources for such projects. I know it's going to be a big one, but it's going to be a game changer.
What's happening?
Where all the line items, over 4,000 pages.
Oh, I'm having some lag here.
Is put on a real-time database website.
Okay, I gotta move because this is not just working. Yeah. So again, let's see. Action president. Let me see this. Let me see this one. What the hell is happening to my network? Let me see. Okay. Yeah. I may have to just end this at this point. Let me see this one. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for watching, everyone. Yeah. Let me see if I can fix this. Then I'll go on. If not, yeah, let me see.
Patriarchy have different types.
There we go. Yeah, it's been blocked.